Hey, folks, another great word on the street with none other than living legend, Bryan Duncan.
Yeah.
How you
And
doing,
we're not even
Bryan?
sure. And we're not even sure if he's alive. I think I saw that one Sunday. Says that guy's still alive. I thought he died.
Well, I knew how important it was, Bryan, that they saw your hair. You've got that legendary hair in an age where so many, musical artists, it's not their real hair,
Yeah,
but
no, and the scary thing is it grows wild everywhere else. It's like, it's coming out your ears and your nose, and you're going, wow, thank God I've got, hair that I can cultivate.
yeah, well, speaking of cultivating your hair, you've gone through a few hairstyles since Sweet Comfort Band. Then, you a little bit longer in those days, wasn't it?
Well, I think that was just a sign that I was not happy with myself. Most of us, not completely satisfied with the way we were created, and then you start messing with stuff. At least I haven't had my lips removed or
Yeah. Yeah.
had any facial surgeries of any kind. But I did mess with my hair a lot. I'm not really sure what I was going for, but most of it was a disaster.
Well, hey, a lot of people try to emulate those hairstyles. I mean, because then, what was it, the 80s or the 90s? You really went super spiked,
Well, I gotta say, I miss those days. I at least looked like I was in the music business. That spiked. I always called it the last of the Mohicans. It was like stick straight up on, and it was really wash and wear. You didn't have to. You didn't have to. You could sleep all night in the van on the way to the next gig and wake up and you still look the same because your hair
Yeah.
went that way anyway. So that was a good cut for me. There was one though that I had that I saw a picture of Roger Daughtry from the Who, and I thought he had this long curly hair, and I thought, man, that looks cool. I could be cool if I was him. So I went and had my hair perm, and
Yeah. Yeah.
but to
I
get
think
that
wasn't
long,
that a perm mullet? Wasn't that a perm mullet you had at the time?
yeah. Well, to get it to look long and curly, you have to grow it clear down to your waist because it draws all up. Well, the first time I did that, I looked more like Richard Simmons. Wasn't really the look I was going for. And then I discovered, that perm solution, leaves it leaves a little covering on your scalp that
Yeah. Yeah.
absorbs all of the food smells. And after about 2 months, you smell like a dumpster out back of the restaurant.
Well, I think I ran into you. I didn't get to talk to you, but I think it was the 1990 GMAs. Boy, that's been a minute ago. And I think your hair, man, was almost as tall as I was. So,
Well,
you had
that was another overcompensating for the fact that I'm 5'5 3/4. I tell people I'm 5'6", but that's a lie.
well,
And not only that, I saw a picture of Jimmy Carter, and
yeah.
and they had pictures of him when he was younger, and I'm going, he's shriveled. I mean, he's literally gotten smaller, and I think that happens to a few old people. I hope it doesn't happen to me because I'm already the size of a potato head.
Well, no, actually, you're around the size of the height of a lot of movie stars. I mean, Tom Cruise, and Sylvester
Yeah, let's
Stallone.
bring him up. I'll stand that. Yeah, that'll make me look better.
Well, you're not a Scientologist, but you are quite in addition to an incredible artist, singer, songwriter, you also are a theologian, as evidenced
Uh-oh.
by the nutshell sermons, right?
Well, I've just sat in a lot of church services. I mean, let's get over ourselves. I mean, I could have a PhD in the number of sermons that I've listened to. And, at my age, you just start arguing. It's like I was listening to a sermon the other day, and the guy was talking about, you whatever you ask in my name, God will give it to you. It sounded like Jesus was a genie in a bottle. And, and I wondered, I'm sitting back there arguing. I'm going, yeah, but not always. And he says, if you believe, you will get it. And I says, no, that wasn't the only conversation that Jesus had with the disciples. And there's another place where James says, you don't get what you asked for because you asked amiss. And I'm going, well, you know what? He left that out of the sermon. And I got the sense that I got the sense that he was driving on two wheels and it's a four-wheel vehicle. So you know, that all that said, you know, I'm just a friend on the back row saying, have you had any problems with this one? It was like, I mostly talk about scriptures and how they bother me. And I said, you know, what is it with God asking, you know, he says, his strength is made perfect in my weakness. I said,
right.
Why not use my strength? You know, and there's a whole litany there that goes, you know, because eventually you're going to get to the point where, was like in the NFL, you know, running backs don't last. You don't see any 40-year-old running backs in the NFL in playing football because they beat the crap out of themselves with their strength.
Well, you bring a good point, though. You know, when you hear scriptures like that, we focus on our weakness, but we don't focus on the strength. And that's a good point, man. That's a good point.
Oh, I don't like it. You know, that is just one of those scriptures that bothers me. There's another one that, you know, never lets me go. And it's that having a form of godliness, but denying the power. I'm going, that sounds like me. I haven't called fire down from heaven. And I certainly haven't cursed a fig tree recently. So, you know, maybe my form of godliness is kind of sucky. And, you know, it just goes on, you know. And there's another one too that really bothers me is what was now I can't remember it. Crap, you know, my brain is going soft. It's just about being strong in your own. There's a way that seems right to a man, but the ends thereof are destruction. End of destruction. And I'm going, wait, which way is that again? Because, you know, all of my ways seem right to me.
Right. Well, but the next part of that is that, you know, a man makes his plans, but the Lord,
I wrote a thing
determines
about
his steps. Right.
I wrote a Twitter about that once. It says, you know, I do these Twitter posts called "Spoke to God, He Said," you know, and it's like, in this one it goes hashtag "Spoke to God, He Said, I saw your plans, LOL."
Well, you
that's
know,
the Bible. See, that's the Bible in a nutshell.
I used to think that meant, no matter what you plan, God will change it, you know. But this dude named James Grider, hi James, if you're watching, he said, you know, sometimes God is waiting for you to make your plan so that you can order your steps. And I thought, whoa, that's kind of a different thing. So instead of no matter what you plan, Bryan, I'm going to, you know, I'm going to change.
Yeah, I tend to. Well, I do. I tend to think that he's going to mock me, you know, for doing the wrong thing. But you know, more often than not, I imagine there's a better way to see that. It's like if you post something on Twitter and people can't hear your tone of voice. That's why we had to invent emojis. So, you know, you knew I was being smart aleck at some point.
Right. Well, hey, you know, I mean, I think you've done really, really well. I think in spite of ourselves, you know, we somehow, it's a Psalm 139 thing. You know, our days were written in his book before we were born. And your days have been written in his book, man. Even the frustrations and things, they may not make sense right now. And we don't have to like. Aren't you glad the Bible doesn't tell us we have to agree with what's going on, or we don't have to like it? We just have to trust God, you know. But I like your approach of, hey, you know, let's get over ourselves and you know, get to business. You've seen a lot, you know, in your travels, in your music career, incredible music that you're still doing. You know, folks, if you go to BryanDuncan.com, you're going to see what Bryan's up to and his projects. I really encourage you to buy his music and really get behind him. He's one of those dudes that, man, he's still in it, still incredible. Bryan, your voice hasn't gone, man. It hasn't, in my opinion, it hasn't diminished at all. It's still you. You're still able to do that. You're not having to resort to pre-recorded tracks. I don't believe so.
Well, you know, since COVID hit though, I haven't sung an hour and a half concert for like the last
Right.
3 years,
Right.
So, there's songs that I did when I was 18 that I'm going, I might need a doctor's permission to sing that again. So, let's not pretend that we are the same guy we were back in our prime.
Right.
My songs that I've written in recent years are getting more and more sentimental. The last one I wrote was about my granddaughters. It was about babysitting my granddaughters, and the whole story was about how I felt like I wasn't doing anything. I'm stuck on my back porch and Mimi is making pee-pee, watch the kids. I'm just saying, you sit there and, the song goes, walking with a 3-year-old. Sometimes she holds my hand, but mostly her adventures are where I prefer to stand, and that's the general idea is like, she only knows I'm watching her, but not the reason why. And it's like, my smiling eyes are all she needs to dance and twirl and fly. Look what I can do, she says. And the whole song is about me doing nothing, really doing nothing but watching her. And then at some place it says, and I never knew till now this love could be the best when I was doing nothing more than being here for this.
Wow, I love it. And you know what, Bryan, you and I talked the other day on the phone. There's actually a question that has to do with your kids, not your grandkids, but man, I've got a grandbaby on the way. I can't wait to be Poppy. But we've got an incredible guy here. It's Kerry Vanley. We're streaming live as we're filming this, Bryan. But this is actually one of your fans, and he's got a question for you. Can you hear his question?
Okay, let's see.
All right, Kerry, how you doing? Incredible vocalist and artist, Kerry Vanley. How you doing, Kerry? What question do you have, my friend, for Bryan Duncan?
And do they write or sing and, kind of follow in your footsteps, or do they shun it because, life is hard in the music business,
Oh, I kind of got the gist of what you're saying. It's not I can't hear you real clear, but my kids thought I was interesting when before they could learn to talk. And then they started talking back. And that probably the biggest curiosity for them is, why I didn't go into regular rock and roll stuff. They said, they clearly know that what I do is good, but they really never quite got their head around my infatuation with Jesus. It's like, he's the only thing I can find to live for these days, and everything else goes away. But they don't get that. And you got to let your kids process, you got to let them be where they are. And sometimes they're not on your team. And that comes and goes. But, last time I went down to talk to my oldest son, he's 40 now. Wow. And he has my grandson at this point, who is 4 years old. Well, actually, he's only 1 year old because he was born on leap year, on leap day. So he's a year old, but he's been here for 4 years. So what was I thinking about that? Oh, he's really into EDM. I mean, electronic dance music. You got to, all it is it's disco on steroids. I'm going, it's the same groove constantly. So like when you go home, even after the music is over, your head's nodding like this. I feel like a bobblehead after I listen to like 3 EDM songs. And then, I go home kind of depressed because, he likes to listen to that nonstop and at ear-piercing volume, and we can't talk about anything. And, it's hard to imagine that, your kids are ever going to completely understand why you did what you did, or why you feel the way you do, or you believe the way you do. End of the day, God has to have them. God takes us all through our individual experiences, and you can't talk anybody else into an experience with God.
You can only model it.
Yeah,
But,
pretty much.
well, so your kids, and thank you, by the way, Carrie, for your question.
Thanks, Gary. Hi.
They obviously inherited some of your wit. Have any of your kids inherited some of your musical talent?
Well, they both like music, of course.
Yeah.
Not mine necessarily. It's like my youngest son, Devin, played guitar and sang for a while. Then he got into acting, and then that kind of went south too. But he's just having to hustle now in midlife, trying to make a living, which kind of sucks the life out of a lot of fun.
Well, you know
So
what?
yeah, I mean, Devin has sung on a record with me. He sang on the Christmas record. He was in the child's choir that we did with that Amy Grant song, or the version that she did was called what's that? No More Lives Torn Apart.
Yeah, Bob Farrell's grown up Christian Christmas Wish.
Yeah, grown up Christmas list.
Yeah, Bob Farrell wrote that, and
well, she sang. Devin sang on that on my Christmas is Jesus record.
Right.
And then later he sang on a song called Every Father is a Son. And it was designed to be a duet between a father and a son.
Wow. Wow.
So I mean, yeah, he's done some musical stuff, but it's not his focus.
I'm so thrilled that we had someone call in. I didn't plan that. The guest we had scheduled, and by the way, hello, Henry. And Joseph Barnes, he had a knee surgery. He's going to join us. We were going to surprise him, but Bryan, there's so many people that have been impacted profoundly, including myself, by your music, and by not only the messages in your music, but by your incredible one of a kind sound, your talent, and the passion behind it. And man, you never stopped. You're not stopping anytime soon. But I love it when people can call in and interact with artists that their music has been the soundtrack of their lives. It's very important that you're still fresh in the minds of millions of people who you've inspired, Bryan. But it's also good for them to be able to express to you what songs like I Never Should Have Left You, about the prodigal son, what that has meant. So many of your songs have helped people through some very hard times. I just thought it was fun to have kind of a laid back, fun, casual moment where people can see the person behind the song. And I sure hope we get to do it a lot more, Bryan. There's a lot more people out there that want to express their gratitude to you in addition to me. But man, I really appreciate.
Well, you know what? It's good timing for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the artists of my generation are, number one, when COVID hit, just felt like we were sidelined for good. Like I say, there hasn't been as many concerts in the last 4 years, and some of that's not my fault. And it's,
right.
It's not because somebody doesn't want to hear anything, but I had to start coming up with something to do on my back porch because I was here all the time.
Right.
And it's one thing to write a song, but then to produce it, arrange it, record it, market it, get it, is all requires crowdfunding, and you need musicians around you, and you need to be in the studio. The last time I was in the studio was just when COVID was hitting, and I got a call the next day. We were working on a song called Miserable to Wonderful, which is pretty funny because it was the opposite. We went from wonderful to miserable. But the next day after I was at that studio, I got a call and said that the engineer that I had sat next to for like 6 hours had contracted COVID, and he had to shut down his studio.
Whoa.
And then later my drummer got COVID, and then my bass player got COVID, and my singer's had it 3 times, and he can't even sing these days. So we didn't see all that coming. I mean,
right.
So I started doing a podcast. It's almost like a second job, And that's when I started Nutshell Sermons, was last summer. If you go to nutshellsermons.com, you can hear my 2-minute rants from the back row. I call them antagonistic devotions.
Antagonistic devotions. That sounds very inspiring. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater, but I'm certainly questioning the soap.
Commentary from the back row. Antagonistic devotion. I love it. Well, Bryan, I want to hear more about that. Also, I hope you enjoyed getting to hear from one of your fans. And
thanks.
Yeah, we want to get behind what you're doing. We'll know when you have a new release coming out, and I'm really looking forward to it. So let's do this again, Bryan. Folks, go to BryanDuncan.com. Buy all the music you can. I'm going to buy some music too. Go to NutshellSermons.com.
Yeah, But by the way, on NutshellSermons.com, I post songs that didn't make the last record. And, there's probably 20 songs on there you've never heard, because I've written 3 hours worth of material that you haven't heard. And I'm posting the demos on my NutshellSermons.com podcast.
Well, maybe we need to do a review of these songs and televise that too, Oh,
that'd be fun if we could get a quality version of it.
Well, if you send a good MP3, we can play that over this platform and it'll be quality, or
okay.
However we need to do it. Let's talk more about it. But Bryan, what a thrill to talk to you again. And I really enjoy the interaction with your fans. That's my favorite kind of show. I've done all kinds of shows. I do 7 shows a week, different kinds. I don't host them all or co-host them all, but the call-ins with real people, that's where it's at, man. And real people love people they look up to and have inspired them. You continue to inspire others and myself. So thanks for joining me today, Bryan. I can't wait till next time.
It's a great privilege.
All right. God bless you, man.
See you next time, man.
Stay and pieces the pieces together through my harmony. Changing forever. Oh, one missing piece, bringing the pieces together again. One missing piece, changing forever. One missing piece, bringing the pieces together
Hey friends, this is Brant. You know, years ago I discovered a secret that enabled me to navigate this reality, to live a fearless life, free from anxiety, where nothing was impossible for me. That's how I live, and that's what I want for you. If you want to have a fearless life, free of anxiety, to live in joy and success and fulfillment, walking out your destiny and living out your purpose, you got a better chance of doing that if you read The Red Pill Prophet on Amazon.com. Get it in your hands. The Truth of the Red Pill Prophet on Amazon.com.